Well, speaking of something that a lot of people like, we now got to the debut of Nick Wayne, the 18-year-old prodigy, against Swerve Strickland. And I wrote this at the top of the thing. The buildup that they've given this 18-year-old kid on this program, they have debuted major names in wrestling and not given them this kind of build, not given them this kind of entrance, not given them videos, multi-weeks, and interviews beforehand, and etc. And I've been told he can work and not just flip. And I'm thinking, at this point, it's almost going to be a letdown unless he's a prodigy because of the way that they've, categorized this and presented this. And I watched the first 60 seconds and I said, well, that was aggressive parkour. But I'm thinking, okay, Swerve, he's from Washington State. They work the same promotion. They trained with his dad. They're going to do some of this, but we're going to see something to indicate that this guy's and I'm not trying to knock him, but I kept waiting to see, is he a prodigy? And here is what I would determine a prodigy in wrestling. I've said Braun Breaker's a prodigy. Nick Wayne is not blessed by the genetic or chemical gods to look like Braun Breaker, so you don't expect him to do that stuff. But Austin Theory's a prodigy. And before I go through this match, I'm just going to say this. If Nick Wayne, and I know that, again, Theory's taller, has a better physique, he won the genetic lottery, he's a good-looking fucking guy. Right? He's a great-looking guy. But Nick Wayne ain't a bad-looking guy either. He doesn't have the physique, but he's 18 years old. He might get bigger. He can go to the gym and work on his upper body. He's not an ugly young man. I can see where the girls would be attracted to him. But as far as inside the ring, if you took and you did the brain switch, like they do over in Japan with Shibata, where you take Nick Wayne's brain and put it in Austin Theory's body and vice versa, I would call Nick Wayne the prodigy, because he would be working exactly like Austin Theory, but looking like Nick Wayne. He would have impeccable basics. He would have timing beyond his level of experience. He would have facial expressions. He would have the subtle intricacies that take years and a very good training program, and even then sometimes they're never developed. That's what I've looked at and seen in Theory or seen in Braun Breaker. That's a prodigy, not what moves you can do, any kind of moves, but the basics, the concept of wrestling, the timing, the facials, the body language, the working ability. Those are things that I determine when I'm looking at whether somebody's a prodigy. And I didn't see any of it with Nick Wayne because they didn't do any of it. There was not a goddamn regular wrestling move in this match that Nick Wayne used. No body slam, hip toss, arm drag. It was the rolling flips, the parkour, aggressive gymnastics. He does the same posing and pointing. And I'm not saying that I want the guy to be boiled in oil, but I'm saying he's doing the same shit everybody else is doing. The posing and pointing at where he's going to run to while he turns his back on the heel, and he's acting too full of his own shit. Now that I've done this move, I'm going to turn and puff out my cheeks and point at the turnbuckle that I'm going to run to in grandiose fashion to come off with some fucking move that it wouldn't take a split second for this guy to fucking foil and get out of the way of if he wanted to. And several times he got crossed up by the heel and looked stupid for turning his back to the fucking guy, to the point where Taz even had to mention it. Like, well, that's a show of inexperience. And I'm thinking, can he sell? Here's an 18-year-old kid with a good-looking baby face. Can he sell? Will the heel get on him and waltz him across Texas, like Ernie Ladd might say, so that he can have the pain on his face and he can reach out like Ricky Morton to the fucking audience in the front row, mouthing, "Help me." and show he's in pain and fight from underneath with some fire and passion, landing some fucking strikes that look halfway decent, like he's trying to get out from under this son of a bitch before he gets shut down again. No. They sold the moves they did to each other, but there was no prolonged set of heat that the heel got on the babyface where he could be put in peril and in jeopardy and fight from underneath, because they were too busy doing spinning, rolling, fucking flipping scissor things. And again, I've wrote later on in the match, constantly turns away from his opponent. That's the first thing we would have covered in OVW and amateur class. Points where he's going to run, runs there like Kathy Rigby about to do a vault off the horse. They did the reverse poison Hurricane Rana off the top rope, him on Swerve, that's been banned. Or was that one of the banned ones, or just the got to be approved? Well, it's stupid to do it anyway. And that was a 2 count. And then they went to the top again and held on to each other visually, obviously for balance and cooperation. And then Swerve powerbombed him off the top rope. When they landed, he folded the kid in half and didn't even cover him. He ran to the ropes, and the kid comes up to his knees after a powerbomb off the top rope. Comes up to his knees and waits for Swerve to jump up and hit him with a leg slap kick to the head that looked 1/10 as deadly as the powerbomb. 2 count. And the fans of the phony video game wrestling genre were chanting, "This is awesome," because it wasn't their fucking vertebrae that they were destroying by the time they're 37 years old. And then Swerve hits some other kind of fucking move, 1, 2, 3. Right result, obviously. You can't have an 18-year-old kid come in his first major fucking promotion match and beat an established guy. But it was a ridiculous match. And I have no idea now, no more than I did when I started, whether Nick Wayne can work or not. He's a world-class gymnast, but I have no idea whether he's a good wrestler. Because this match was everything wrong with AEW and most indie wrestling. They spent no time on the art. They spent all the time on the moves. I know that Nick Wayne doesn't look like Bron Breakker or even Austin Theory. So, looking like a normal human being, he's going to have to do more to get attention than those other guys I just mentioned. But doing more of the same shit that everybody else does will not fucking get him there. I suggest he work on his personality and his ability to sell and be an underdog and be a little teenage boy fighting in a world of men that are going to try to fucking hurt him and get the sympathy of the teeny boppers on his back. Or he can continue flipping off the fucking Cirque du Soleil wire until he breaks his neck and he's wandered around in a goddamn iron lung. Your thoughts, young Brian?
I can't add too much because I don't entirely disagree with you. I really loved the video earlier, and it got me pumped up to see him, and it got me, like I said, wanting to get behind him. And, you know, I understand there's an argument to be made that he's working the modern style because he's working modern wrestling shows. That's what you do. I think that's part of the issue. Yeah, he's young and skinny, but he just did the same stuff most of the run-of-the-mill guys at this point do in AEW in terms of high flying. I'm sure he's better than what we saw here in terms of, you mentioned several times that you heard he can work. So I've been
told that.
I'm assuming
I've been told he was trained to, not necessarily that he elects to.
Well, maybe they thought this was the best kind of match to do for a first high-profile main event on Dynamite. I wasn't crazy about the match. I agreed with much of your assessment of it, but I really liked the video earlier in the show.
Well, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I like that video so much that I feel bad saying anything about the match.
Well, me too. I was ready to like him. And it happens. I saw the first day I saw Austin Theory. First time I said, my God, kid's a prodigy. I can't believe he's this good this quick. I will give credit. Bron Breakker, same thing. I'll give credit where it's due. Wasn't due here because he didn't call the fucking match, I'm sure. They should have got I know they wanted Swerve because he's trained with him, worked in the same promotion, but they should have got somebody. Is there a veteran? Dustin Rhodes. Somebody that could have had a wrestling match with the kid so we could have seen what he could do.
Yeah, because the other thing is if he can only work with the guys that he's worked with, what's he going to do?
Well, yeah, because the Cirque du Soleil people can't just be like goddamn Chuck Berry when he used to travel around and just use a local backup band. You know, they have to be synchronized because all this stuff has to be synchronized.
All right.
All right.